The Gulf of Tonkin incident occurred in August 1964, and is considered a pivotal moment that led to the United States' deeper involvement in the Vietnam War. The incident involved two separate confrontations between the United States and North Vietnam in the waters of the Gulf of Tonkin, off the coast of North Vietnam. In the early 1960s, the United States was supporting South Vietnam against the Communist forces of North Vietnam, which were backed by the Soviet Union and China. The U.S. had been conducting covert operations in the region, including the deployment of ships for reconnaissance and intelligence-gathering missions near North Vietnamese shores. The USS Maddox, a destroyer, was on such a mission as part of the U.S. Navy's DESOTO patrols. First attack, August 2, 1964. On August 2, 1964, the USS Maddox was reportedly attacked by 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. According to U.S. reports, the Maddox engaged in a defensive action, firing back and damaging the enemy boats. The Maddox itself sustained no damage. North Vietnam claimed that the U.S. ship had violated its territorial waters, provoking the attack. Second attack, August 4, 1964. 2 days later, on August 4, reports emerged of a second attack on U.S. naval vessels, including the Maddox and the USS Turner Joy. The U.S. claimed that North Vietnamese forces had again attacked their ships with torpedoes, although subsequent evidence suggested that this second incident may not have actually occurred. There were conflicting reports, and many of the radar signals and sonar reports could have been due to bad weather or misinterpretation of data. Despite this uncertainty, the U.S. government accepted the reports of an attack as credible. In response to these incidents, President Lyndon B. Johnson addressed the American public and Congress, portraying the attacks as unprovoked aggression by North Vietnam. On August 7, 1964, Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which gave Johnson broad authority to assist any Southeast Asian country whose government was considered to be jeopardized by communist aggression. This resolution effectively allowed Johnson to escalate U.S. military involvement in Vietnam without a formal declaration of war. The Gulf of Tonkin incident led to a dramatic escalation in the Vietnam War. The U.S. began a sustained bombing campaign known as Operation Rolling Thunder, and significantly increased its military presence in South Vietnam. Over the next few years, American troop levels in Vietnam surged, peaking at over 500,000 by 1968. The incident remained controversial, especially after declassified documents and recordings in later years suggested that the second attack on August 4 may never have happened. Some officials, including Defense Secretary Robert McNamara, later admitted that the evidence for the second attack was ambiguous. Critics have argued that the Gulf of Tonkin incident was manipulated or misrepresented to justify U.S. intervention in Vietnam. The Gulf of Tonkin incident is often cited as an example of how misinformation and unclear intelligence can lead to major military actions. It marked the beginning of America's deep and costly involvement in Vietnam, which would last until 1975. And it had a lasting impact on U.S. foreign policy, particularly with regard to presidential war powers. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution was eventually repealed in 1971, as part of efforts to limit presidential authority in matters of war, especially in the wake of growing public opposition to the Vietnam War.